Hi, this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review and a special video edition like we always used to have with retail consultant and former Blue Booker Pamela Schneider. We hope to come into you periodically throughout the year, so this is one of our updates. And we left off last time and we had to talk about tariffs. They're still in the news, but kind of in a different way. Walmart made some noise this week talking about how the tariffs are forcing them to increase prices. And as far as we're looking, we don't see a whole lot going on in the produce department, do we?
No, there's not a whole lot in the produce department, and I think retailers really need to tread carefully and show their work on some of this stuff because I think a lot of people are, fed up with high prices, right? And they're also wanting to see the paper trail on it and going, you've been telling me it was inflation. And then inflation is year over year, it's cooled quite a bit back to the baseline. Sure, we jumped, and a lot of that jump was kind of understandable, kind of. But then when they see record profits on some of this stuff, and then they go, wait a minute, hold up. So Walmart, show me your work on the where you are talking about raising prices because of tariff. You said there's one specific thing that they pointed to in the produce department, and it is something that I have been on a soapbox for other reasons for many, many years.
Yeah, bananas. Bananas they mentioned by name because they are imported from Latin American countries that are subject to the 10% tariff, unlike Mexico and Canada, which, if they're USMCA compliant, have no tariff. And so they said, Walmart, I mean, they plan to raise banana prices from 50 cents a pound to 54 cents a pound. What is a consumer going to do with this price increase?
Clutch their pearls. I mean, come on. So you pointed this out when we were having a little catch up to talk about what we were going to talk about, and you pointed out that if you raise the price of bananas 4 cents a pound, then somebody who buys a hand of bananas, that's about what, 2 to 3 pounds. It's anywhere from 8 to 12 cents difference that they're going to notice, and those of us who have been watching bananas for years and who advocate things like fair trade bananas, a higher return for bananas, they have a artificial low price, and people just need to get over it and buy their bananas. But for them to point that out, I'm like, what else is in the produce department that we could be worried about tariff wise as far as Walmart goes? It I don't know how long the list is there. Uh, there's, but
Well, we're talking about imported produce, and we're coming up. We just passed Memorial Day, so this it's there's not going to be a whole lot of imported produce for the next few months, and there's a lot of things that could be sorted out before, I mean, really October
yeah,
when we start finishing up domestic seasons of most items. Tropicals are still imported during the summer, but not a whole lot. So there's not going to be any impact that we're going to see in the produce department for the most part.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying that if we start to see across the board increases in prices, especially in the produce department, retailers need to show their work. Because people are really paying attention to this. A lot of people are struggling as far as paying for groceries goes, and that hasn't changed for years, and it's not getting any better at the moment. So I think most retailers need to be careful and tread carefully and show their work and show people the money, like show me the money on exactly where we're seeing these price increases, just so people don't feel like they're getting burned, because retail loyalty, yeah, a lot of people struggle in that department and they're gravitating toward the retailers that they feel like are taking care of them. And if they feel like they're just getting screwed, then they're going to maybe switch stores. So, tread lightly on that.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we heard when we were both at the IFPA retail conference is the Circana stats that showed year over year trips are considerably up. It was like not quite 10%, but it was like 10. If people average 150 trips to a grocery a week, it was up to over 160. So That means they're not being quite as loyal. They are shopping around more. They're buying a little bit less, not stocking up as much, probably because they're concerned about food waste. And so that's an area where retailers are put into stronger competition.
And Jonna Parker from Circana did point out some stats when it came to some specialty niche retailers like the natural and organic. When people are going to gravitate toward a store with their discretionary spend, they're going to be choosier about where they spend that money. And I thought that was a really interesting call out that she had there, because people are paying attention. And if you are really paying attention to the pennies, you find the time. You find the time to shop around, and you find the time to get the best deal and to gravitate toward the retailer that's taking the best care of you.
Well, so President Trump has made a lot of noise with tariffs, but just in the last few months, he's made a lot more noise with the Make America Healthy Again movement, or MAHA. The That group issued a MAHA report a week or two ago, and the produce industry is kind of dissecting that and finding out what's in it, what they recommend. IFPA had a webinar this week about it, and I actually talked to Molly Van Loo and Rebecca Adcock this week also outside of that, on the record, and they're evaluating what's in it. There's more good than bad because produce is mentioned specifically in there. It is not mentioned nearly as directly or specifically as IFPA and the produce industry would like to see. But also, we've seen a lot of criticism of ultra processed foods. And one of the things the report said was about 70% of what Americans eat would be considered ultra processed. So we're talking about center store, and that seems to have a bullseye. And produce is the opposite of that. Produce is a whole nutritious food. And I think there's a massive opportunity for produce if the administration wants to jump aboard and start talking more about it and getting it more into Americans' hands.
I would love to see people get beyond the noise of, tallow and seed oil and whatever. And when I say people, I mean fresh produce advocates. Um, we need to be noisier. If you remember when IFPA formed out of PMA and United, and they had the moonshot things where they were talking about getting a little attitude when we talk about promoting fresh produce, because we've been around long enough to remember when it went from 5 a day to 5 to 9 a day to the more matters, right? And then to have a plant. And then we were also, people are talking about the food pyramid and how bad the food pyramid is and how inaccurate and terrible the food pyramid is, not remembering that the food pyramid hasn't been around since 2011.
Right. We've had My Plate for over 10 years. And one of the things IFPA people talk to me about is there's nothing wrong with My Plate. The
No.
problem is people don't follow it. My Plate recommends half your diet fruits and vegetables.
Yes, and that's
That's a
that's the
good
thing I
thing.
try to talk about with everyone I talk about when we talk about fruits and vegetables, promoting fruits and vegetables, promoting wellness, anything like that. And it's like it's half of what you're eating, fruits and vegetables, because it should be. And you had a column that I really thought was fun, but also, hey, reminding people, and really has that attitude of what we need to have with the produce industry. I think we've been too meek and too humble for too long. And if we're going to come out here and brag and gloat and whatever about making everyone healthy again, where's the attitude?
Yeah, I agree. The, I think people have been too nice about the diet and making suggestions, and there are a lot more motivations out there that could be employed, that are employed by people every day that we could do more of. And it's like modeling, um, forcing, like requiring it in certain places, certain feeding government feeding programs, One of the things that some of the red states are doing and getting approved for is cutting sugary snacks and candy out of SNAP. I'm all for that. And as Molly Van Loo told me in our interview, when you are taking things out of your diet or government feeding programs, you need to put other stuff in. And it is a zero sum game in a person's diet. You take something out, something replaces it, and that's fruits and vegetables. And they're starting to be a little more direct with that. And you and I've talked about that years ago. Like, are we going to start getting mean?
Yeah,
And there's there's
bring
two
back
sides.
guilt and
One
shame.
is shame. Shame works. I mean, I know that's the joy of fresh is the other side of that coin.
Right,
And that's good too, because joyfully eating healthy foods is a big motivator. But the other side of that is also shame and feeling like crap because your diet's bad. And that works too.
right. You feel like crap, it's because you eat crap. You know,
Yes.
I have a teenager, I have a preteen, and you know what? If you don't feel great, it's because you ate a bag of Takis. And sometimes kids need to be reminded that. You know how chronically online I am, and I use it for research purposes, really honestly. And I watch a lot of videos of dietitians, of people talking about or affordable foods, people talking about saving money, and I don't see enough about how to utilize fruits and vegetables to their best ability. I make this one salad though. There are a few shining moments out there. There's a really good TikTok channel of this lady who owns like a baked good company, but her TikTok is Baked by Melissa, and she basically makes a dumpster salad where she takes everything in her fridge and chops it up all the same little size, puts a dressing on it, and just eats it. And I have started making dumpster salad. Hey, as a journalist, I know that dumpster is a capital D and you can't trademark dumpster salad or use it for monetary purposes. So this is just, what I'm saying here for what do we call it? Fair use.
Yeah, this is news and analysis purposes, not
News and
commercial.
analysis purposes. But there's not enough out there that is just promoting what you can do and what you should do instead of this eat this and yeah, there's plenty of blowback when you try to shame someone for eating Cheetos instead of carrot sticks, right? But maybe we need a little bit of that.
Well, you'll be proud of me. I saw on TikTok something that I have started incorporating, and it is called the Dino Salad.
Yes, dino time,
Yes,
dinosaur
I am
time.
doing that. So what it is when you're doing food prep, you look in the fridge and you open a container of salad and grab a handful and
And you just
jam it
eat
in
it.
your
You
mouth.
just
Just eat it right there. And then while you're doing all the food prep, you're chomping on this salad without any dressing, no nothing. I like it best with a spinach spring mix because iceberg kind of gets all
Oh no,
watery.
you for me, dino time is eat a head of romaine. And you buy the artisan romaines,
Oh,
like that
well,
Costco
that's
has the
good
pack of
too.
6 of them, and you just mow down an entire head of romaine in like a minute.
Yeah.
And you just think of
Right.
the
That
Jurassic Park thing.
salad's done. All
Yes.
that space in your stomach that you were gonna fill with pizza or sausage, you can still fill it, but there's not as much room because you just dinoed that salad.
And you know what? I think as we are approaching summer for a lot of folks and people's kids are going to be at home or getting ready for camp or whatever, I think we need to be reminded that it literally, really, there's another TikTok channel where this gal stands there and she shows you how long it actually takes to do a chore that you haven't wanted to do. And it's always like 16 minutes or 12 minutes or like 32 seconds. And do you know how long it takes to actually chop up some carrots? It takes like 2 minutes. Do you know how long it takes to chop a bell pepper, like a whole one? TikTok taught me how to chop it better. I don't know how I didn't know this before, but you just go around the edges, and there is no easier prep
1 minute.
than, or you could just eat it like an apple. But anyway, like to get your kids to eat road trip snacks that you made from home, we have food at home. We have been talking about this for forever. And no, you do not need $72 worth of beef jerky and banana pudding from Bucky's. as much as I love it. Maybe we'll only stop at Buc-ee's 3 times instead of 4 times, between here and the top of Texas. Um, we really do need to be like, we have food at home and we're going to eat the food we have. And it actually only takes 5 minutes to make your own carrot sticks. Honestly, folks, it's not that hard.
Yeah, it is easy. Are you going to tell your kids about the latest diet trend that I saw that I posted this week? That would be
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
ass-based diet.
Fast-paced diet. What is it? I tried to read the acronym and I couldn't get past all the words. What are we talking
It's
about here?
it's a little it officially stands for added sugar sucks, fruits and veggies also contain carbs, eat those. So basically the diet, there are those ass faces in there, but there's no V. Um, so I saw the news and thought this is so silly. But then I read the diet and the diet's really good. It is avoiding carbs that are processed and sugary and replacing them with carbs from produce because produce does have carbs. It actually does specifically mention potatoes in there among fruit. So it's not a total carb avoidance diet. It is avoiding processed and sugar, bad carbs. And then it also has room in there for meat and dairy, as long as the dairy is not sugary dairy. So unflavored yogurt and cheeses. It's very reasonable. It's actually pretty close to how I try to have my diet now, except for beer.
Well, potatoes are actually having a moment on social media right now because people the nutritionists are talking about how potatoes are one of the best foods for satiety. Where and you get a lot of nutrients, you get a lot, and then they also fill you up and make you feel good when you eat them. So there it is again. Like the have a plant thing with the food rooted in a better mood on the back on the shirt. I wear that shirt all the time, and I have original. I have original shirt. I saw that they have new ones. I need one of them. But the food
I did
and
get a new
mood
one this year.
and fruits and vegetables and mood, I think is something that people need to remember and need to realize and need to really grasp onto because we're too busy thinking about the dopamine that you get from chocolate or whatever, but that crashes and then you feel like a chump after you've eaten that brownies or whatever you made. It's short lasting, and you know what? The high from fruits and vegetables lasts a lot longer because you have the smug superiority complex. You know what? You know how you
Yes,
feel.
yes.
You know how you feel when you're at the store and the belt leading up to the cashier is all good things. You know how that feels, right? And then you
Yeah,
just need to make sure you go home and eat it.
yeah, it's where shame comes in. All right, before we finish, we have to talk about what you've been doing lately. I'm sure you've been around the country store checking.
I have actually. I was in Reno last week, doing some store checking while visiting some family, and got around to O'Reilly's. Haven't seen O'Reilly's in a while. They're doing some really cool things with cross promotion and signage. Sent some of those photos to Anne Marie and be like, "Hey, next time you're talking to some folks, make sure that you point out this one." I thought it was really cool that they had the rotisserie chicken with a bunch of sides right next to it, and it was very produce forward. It was like asparagus, since everyone's really keen on the asparagus season thing, and I like to see it, especially. And then the other trip that I did recently, besides going to Dallas, where we saw each other at the retail conference, I keynoted the Fresh Fest for Four Seasons Produce out there in the middle of a lot of dairy fields in Pennsylvania. First time ever driving across a covered bridge. If you've ever been out there, you know. But I keynoted that for them, talking about retail trends and innovation, and got to see some stores that, especially some of their customers that were smaller co-ops, but doing some really cool stuff in produce. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of really cool things, and I love getting around talking about what I think is trending, and it kind of circles back to what I mentioned earlier about retail loyalty and creating a space that consumers and more reasons for consumers to choose you over the guy down the street. So had a lot of fun doing some of that, and of course getting out there and store checking. Next up for me is Central Missouri and Kansas. Super exciting.
Well, you'll see some IVs, maybe some Schnucks, some
Deerbergs.
local retailers. Yeah, Deerbergs, lots of Walmarts.
Lot of Walmarts. A lot of Walmart. Actually, you know what? There's a new Walmart in Cypress, Texas that I need to go see. One of their newer supercenter models. If it's any better than the one in Kansas City, Kansas, over by the Legends, if you haven't been to that one, they sell all kinds of cool stuff there. So, I thought I had a cool Walmart, but those are out of this world.
I should check that one out. That's I'm over that direction sometimes.
Yep,
That's
yep.
where
If
the
you're
soccer team plays.
Yep, it is. That's where my family lives, and that's where if you want to go see a race, you got to go out there.
Yeah, but that's NASCAR. I'm an IndyCar person, so I don't go out there for those. All
All
right,
right.
why don't we sign it off and we will check in with you another time. Thank you for watching Produce Reporter Week in Review. Hopefully you get the Produce Reporter. If you don't, you can sign up right on our homepage at bluebookservices.com.
And make sure that you are modeling the behavior you want to see in produce with some attitude.
Yes.